Hello, my name is Micaiah. Welcome to Hamlet Development Log number 20. We are changing this up a little bit. We think that's kind of important to talk about these in development, not promised, coming soon. As a development log, you get kind of an internal look. There's still some stuff that's like in testing, and bugs and stuff like that. But I guess one of the other things too is in talking about some of this stuff. I guess too it's kind of pointless because when we release the update, it included some of the content that might not come out. So anyways, as that continues, we have a game demo. Oh, I guess I didn't load up the game demo, but we do have a game demo for you. We've updated to the 18.2. I guess I should talk about these things before we get to them, but anyway, so this is on the beta. We're still on version 10 on the live service or live version. So yeah, so let's see. I think I can remember a lot of this. So yeah, it's just 18.2 in the bottom left. We have the adventure mode, and yeah, okay. So I booted this up before. So some of the things that are not saving are the character equipment, the items on the ground, things like that. So you can see that we have changed quite a few items on the ground. We have this cart system that's pretty cool. We've always wanted to include that, and it kind of feels like there's a little. I guess there's a little. It's hard for me to see. I guess there's a little wooden pillar and then it goes into a thing. But anyway, so I think I think it actually looks pretty good. I like this kind of wood style here. But anyway, so and then we also have the pick and the axe. And I guess those. But anyway, so there used to be a couple temporary things. So we have this kind of, we're calling it the mountains right now. This used to be a chunk load that would load in the mountain. We also kind of feel like this actually could serve as our mountain sort of starting area, but we're going to have the caves, it's like where you include a few rocks around the cave. Anyway, so you need a pick, which we took away the pick from the main character that was just giving it to you. Oh yeah, and I guess the trees are borked. I guess I should try to fix that, but I guess that's the problem. I don't. We'll probably we'll put that on the first. Anyway, so we can pick up a pick. I guess the other thing too we should talk about is this is really oversized for one. I didn't realize it was looking normal in the game, and then now it's anyway. So then now we have the main point of this is we wanted to bring back the showcase that we have this weight, which is 0 of 10. So if you pick up the pick, it becomes 1 of 10. I guess we shouldn't waste a lot of time, but that's one of the big problems of the game, I think, right now is getting back and forth between things. So we have this particle effects that we brought back. You're collecting rocks. You can see that rocks weigh 1, so we should be at 9. So one more rock. Oh, I guess rocks are 2. Never mind, rocks are 2. I guess that makes sense. So essentially, I know this is the upper UI is not updated. That's sort of the next sort of. This is kind of the same sort of, where you'll have the picture of the icon and then you'll have the number of things. It's sort of the guesstimate. Right now, it's just a single item being collected. So over here, you can go over and drop off the rocks. Yeah, I was just thinking. Anyway, so once that's, I think that's one more. Yeah, one more. So the pick is 1. You pick up the backpack, you'll have 20, I believe. Yeah, so that'll give you more carrying room. The bunny slippers count as 1, and the axe counts as 1. I guess since we're here, we'll talk about the cart. So this is the cart. If you don't want to be what's the word? Disappointed in the graphics. If you hit F right here, you're actually carrying the cart with you, which is kind of cool. I think you actually go into F7, and it's kind of cool too as well. It doesn't have. Oh yeah, and then there's also a problem with the camera there. It doesn't actually have you carrying the cart. Like you would need to sheath your axe and then pick up the cart, but it's sort of like animations. And then you hit F to drop the cart again. You can actually store logs and rocks in the cart. But one of the most disturbing graphics is this one. Not disturbing, but it's very disjointed. Is if you hit F here, it teleports the cart to behind you, which is like okay. I think the other thing is we're gonna have. Oh yeah, the trees are updated. They've got the yeah. I think it's because it thinks it's a rock. It's using the wrong animation and giving you the wrong item, which now. Yeah. So I guess I should. I was hoping to showcase this, but without that, I can't showcase the logs over here, which is kind of the whole point of today's video. Anyways, you can put the cart down anywhere. I guess we'll show you can. Yeah, so we can store logs here. They work. It's just I think there's the problem with the when I added in the rocks. There's some kind of like. Anyways, and then we can also store rocks in the carts as well. We definitely think that at some point we're going to have like a you access the cart inventory, and then you'll have like this will be a like left pane here that sort of fits in the screen, and or you can have like this will be full size, and we're talking about doing a little half size window as well. So you can maybe open like 6 of these things or whatever. Anyways, and then we'll have another window over here with the cart inventory, and then it will have the weight over here, and the cart will have the weight over there. I think there's a limit. I don't remember if there's a limits on the carts yet, but anyways, so pretty much just kind of what we've been working on. It's just a lot of interactions. We can, we haven't adjusted a lot of these scenes. You can sleep in the bed. Eventually, it's kind of one of the goals. This house actually doesn't, and it seems like it's a little high. I'm noticing the door jamb right here is a little high. So, anyways, it's just adjusting the model down a little bit, which is fine. Which is actually kind of would fit with that right there, but or in the bottom right where it's like you can see. It's not going to be perfect, but and I'm not even sure if this is the house we're going to be using. Anyway, so that's pretty much a good demonstration. Unfortunately, the theme with the trees is that they were working, and we had one rock, but then we changed it so we included a. Maybe there's a way to fix this. There might be a way to fix this. If I go, let me see if I can just do this real quick. If not, I'm sorry. When we added the rocks, we yeah, there we go. That the streaming assets. It's safe to delete that folder right now because it's not part of the safe system. I mean, you'll have to we'll have to create a character hopefully, but that hopefully will get the logs back into the trees. I think part of it is like they save the data. So, anyways, we have to go through the character creation again because we deleted the character. Oh, and let me pick up the pickaxe and the backpack. Part of the kind of concern I have right now is like there's no reason for bunny slippers, but yeah, there we go. Yeah, and then so you can see these are brought back because they have the resources, and I think these are probably they're going to be still broken. Oh, well, anyways, so yeah, so it's just deleting that. Turns over that, deletes the, and I think that's partly it is like I'm reading the information. Anyway, so now you can see that we can store logs here, which is really cool. So that's definitely the big coup de grace of what I've been working on. Because that should have worked last week, but it was like, and I sort of fixed it, but then I started adding other stuff, and obviously it broke. So there we go. And I like the trees animations. They may not be. Yeah, we're already full. They might not be where they sort of Sebastian, I guess, and a couple other people are showcasing some of the animations of that, and I thought it was hey, it's really simple and it works, and a lot of clipping issues, but same thing with the wood pile. As eventually we want to be able to add the ability to adjust that. The other thing too, maybe I'm not sure at some point we'd like to be able to pick up the cart, which we can do. That's kind of the whole point of this. Is like if you're running back and forth, like the cart's kind of the first tier upgrade. Like you get this really small cart that's going to have maybe a few. But anyway, so as you collect logs here, and we took away the cooldowns and adjusted that as well. Because I definitely didn't like that. You can actually store logs. They don't actually show up. Which we were thinking, hey, it might be pretty easy to do at some point, but I think that sort of gets into this gray area of something that's really fun and quick to do, but it doesn't. Not everything will be like that, so it's like difficult to say. So it'd be really nice. I wonder if there's. I wonder if there's a limit. But again, that's sort of like that one of the things of working on. I think we will fix this inventory, so it's working better. But the actual trading of the items um, um, is one thing. Aren't we? Yeah. I think logs are 5 or something. They're actually quite heavy. Also, I should note the backpack is not being updated. I'm not sure if that's going to be a feasible thing where it's like we can store 3 logs in our backpack. It's either going to be. I think the wood pile will fill up eventually. Yeah, the wood pile's full. So, and again, it might be able to add in more. So it's kind of like this. I guess just talk a little bit about because we're talking about it. But basically, we created the model very poorly, but it's kind of the idea of the woodpile we had, and there's a couple other more cooler versions that not in the art world, but anyway. So then we had these 9, I think it's 9 or 7 cylinders, 7, yeah, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just cylinders, and there's sort of place sort of kind of like the castle walls, but it actually worked, and we had this is kind of the first time we actually thought, hey, we have the ability to transfer items, and it's really really simple. It's sort of transferring with scriptable objects and strings, and very very simple things. But yeah, so I mean, I can see a big possibility to upgrade, at least fix this. And then this is kind of this was planned months and months ago, but never came out. And then there is a lot of I don't think we have drag and drop as well, so we are probably going to talk about drag and drop and a lot of that cool stuff. But a lot of it is just like UI becomes really like tedious, and it's very specific to what's happening, and it's kind of it's like, and that's I wanted to build out the make the gameplay as clean as I can before I did that. So anyways, that's a pretty good demonstration of what's happening. I guess I don't know if we talked about, there's so many things, like I don't know if we talked about the sky block, or I need to start coming up a list of these are the changes, and kind of do a better job, but too it's nice to the sky blocks. A lot of this is just really early. Oh wow, there's a little nibbit right there as well. These are like little glitches, I think, are like frustrating. It's like, what? It could take forever to fix those. But this cave is just kind of a, kind of big shout out to Game Grind and stuff like that, and what he was doing with the original RPG, and it's actually part of his sign system as well that he was talking about. Well, he actually had the sign, but then I was like, oh, hey, it'd be really fun to include laws and all sorts of cool things with that. Anyways, so there's my cat in the background. Sorry, she's quite excited. So hopefully she's not too loud. So there is unfortunately, a couple more things I want to talk about. So let's get right to them. So there's the game demo. I guess we definitely haven't talked about this yet, but Patreon. I've decided to take a step back from Patreon. It may seem like great, to sort of put Patreon out there, and I guess it's sort of like just to say, hey, here's my Patreon, go for it. And those are willing would be willing. But part of me is like, my goal is to sell the game on Steam, so that's how I think that it's the best way to make money, is to just sell the product. I appreciate donations, but I have the money, and that's sort of like the donations could also go to upgrading the sound equipment and doing other things. But I think that's just kind of like, I've been also kind of a lot of disappointed in some Patreon people, where it's like some people take a lot of money and then they don't deliver on the things they have. So I think I have enough money, and I have the sort of the gameplay idea, and I can develop and finish it. And the best thing people can do is just buy the game on Steam, and that's help Steam out. But and they've been generous to support and host the game on their servers. So I'm happy to have them have my cut. And two, it's I know digital purchases are kind of really very up in the air right now, but Steam's been around for a long time, so I hope they remain trustworthy. I think GOG is also a great sort of. I think at some point I would love to get my game up on GOG because then it's like you can just. They seem to have a really good digital. Um, this is good old games, by the way, is GOG, but they seem to have a better or one of the best digital support platforms. But Steam is going to be good for a number of years. I have seen very few problems. We might have to change the name at some point, but so far I'm the it's Hamlet's the game the game of the century. So anyway, Discord's definitely something to think about as well. But a lot of it's just kind of like I just want to focus on the next couple of years of developing the features and getting the game out there, and that's I'm happy to do that right now, and so it's exactly kind of what this sort of. So I'll have to maybe think about cleaning this up. Anyway, so we corrected the misspelling of fulfilled, but it kind of meant just the fact that we fulfilled the 18 promise a couple months ago. So you can see now that we're on the 0.10 of the live branch, and then we're on the 0.18.2 of the beta branch. So 18 came out a couple weeks ago, and then I thought I shipped 18.1 last week, but maybe I was just kind of talking about it and didn't do it. Anyway, so that's kind of where we're at. It's on Steam now on the beta branch. It's not the beta per se, but it's like that's kind of what they call them a lot, so it's kind of what I went with. And then the alpha branch. One thing I would like to say about the 0.19 alpha branch is what you see is what we have. There's a lot of things that are in the background that we've been working on and stuff that is not sort of online yet. So that could be almost considered 0.19 features. But 0.19 is basically when we feel like we have, like when the logs and rocks and stuff are worked out, the trees are actually spawning in correctly, and they're not saying, hey, you need a pickaxe to chop down a tree, and people are like, well, do I need to get bark? Anyways, when that cleans up, then we'll ship that to the live branch as 18.3 or whatever, 18.4, I imagine, and then we'll start working on the 19 over the next couple weeks. Anyway, so we shipped the development log 19. It's just on clockwork now. We on June 17th. We actually started this. Anyway, so then we took a few days. We fixed a few things, fixed the logs and stuff, and then we started June 21st. I think on the 20th. 19th, 20th, we started working on adding in the cart system, for instance. Very early look at the cart system. I'm not sure. I'm not worried about the graphical glitches. That it's just meant to be. This is kind of what I want it to do, and it needs to have this placeholder of an inventory, and also be able to access that inventory. So when that comes online, that will be nice. But the correct cart motions and the correct hinge joints, and to get it to sort of, when you turn to the right, the cart doesn't, immediately turn to the right until you move, stuff like that. And then the cart will sort of, do that sort of, I'm kind of thinking of like, there, here's the cart, here's you, and then you turn to the right here. It's like, and then you move, the cart will go and like take this like bend here. And then you'll be here, and the cart will be kind of halfway in between. So, it's something that we would like to do, but I don't think that's going to be the most effective use. Excuse me. I don't think that's going to be the most effective use of my time. So, the coding and sort of getting everything up and fixing the bugs and stuff. Anyways, that's pretty short. This is kind of following through. This hasn't changed much from the 19, but we just kind of been working on the micro environment a lot, and then we'll talk about the macro. If I can get these names correctly. Anyways, the micro environment, we've kind of updated this, kind of included a lot of things. This might have to break out eventually, but we just broke this down to basically say these are the things we have. We talked about the micro environment as this idea that this is the gameplay in this little chunk or little micro world or little tiny world that has everything it needs. And also includes more things than it has, like barrels are also part of that. Like we haven't got there yet, but is there a space right there? Sorry, very OCD, as everybody knows. Anyway, so we have a character that hasn't been changed in a while. We have sort of solidified what we're going to do. We know it's a person, and they have various stats and abilities, and as more things come online, we'll have to sort of figure out where those things interact with the character. I think there's experience, which is kind of yeah. Anyways, there's a lot of systems there, so we'll have to see. Then we did sort of add items. It's not visible to the player. I mean, except that you're collecting logs, you're collecting rocks, and then you can do stuff with them. That's sort of like a metaphysical item that you don't actually have access to. They don't drop on the ground as well, which would be cool. Maybe it just depends on what we want to do. Anyways, we added the pick. You saw that the axe was always intended to be here. We thought about adding a pick. It just kind of was like, since we're working on stones, we felt it would be a quick fix to add one. We do have equipment as the bunny slippers. They don't do anything for you. I thought about maybe you can move faster or do stuff like that, but because movement's locked um, to the animations are all locked in, and I guess too we could maybe put in a filter on that where in testing in development mode I can, even and when we get our options up, I can say, hey, run the development mode, um, which would have to rewrite a lot of code to get that to work, but be able to write just click on use developer options, which means like you can speed through a lot of things quickly. And then maybe in non-development mode, in the release live version of the game, basically when it's not in the non-editor version, it's basically how it runs right now. I could then run the full character animations, and then that would increase the speed as well. So that may be an option to think about. Anyway, so that's it's kind of pointless right now. We definitely do think about the entire equipment stack. I think some of those things will make it. And some won't. Right now, there's it's kind of this idea of a lot of you may not want to manage all that stuff. So your character will just kind of pick up stuff and use stuff as they see fit. There are some things about using bunny slippers for speed versus using plate boots for defense and stuff. But we haven't got there yet, so we'll have to think about that when that hits. A big thing we talked about was inventories. We have the crate. Hopefully these are spelled correctly, but the crate and barrel were always there, but now we actually have rocks are stored in crates. We may just open that up to more inventory, like these are the items you could store in crates, and then based on the size, weight is kind of our primary focus right now. The barrel we talked about for food items eventually. A big problem with food is the fact that if they if you don't have enough food right away, then it's like it just becomes like you're gonna die, and that's not very fun. So we are thinking about doing it at some point, but we need to sort of bring up a ton more systems and then even sort of say, is this really something we're not trying to make a survival game. I think it's fun to have early survival elements, like, oh no, you're starving, collect some food, but after a while, food should just be plentiful. And this sort of like the Minecraft philosophy as well that I like is like you eat a couple apples and then eventually get some bread, and then eventually, it's like but there's also that problem in Minecraft as well, is that the food never goes away until you get the high-tech items or whatever, and it's like that's kind of too high for me. It's like after a while, food's kind of pointless. It should just be. I think maybe like another option too is to have a food stack item, like equipment of food, like you have like tools, and then you have a little equipment slot that you can drop in bread or food or some sort of food item that stacks, and then you can sort of auto eat that when it necessary. Anyways, we also added the cart. A cart is basically a mobile. It's also part of the inventories, and that's kind of what we're talking about a little bit. Is that when those inventories come online, when we're able to transfer items back and forth, I think that will be a huge boon to the game. But that's going to be a little ways off. We'll have to see as we adjust and fix the inventory. We have several inventories like that and several different ideas, but I think we need to sort of we've been dumping a lot of code into the game, and it's getting a little bloated, so we need to sort of start pruning it down again. I think we have, as we work through some of the systems, like it was a quick fix to adjust the experience system to be a component, and as more of these systems come online and we can adjust them towards that, then it will be a lot easier, and then we'll have a clearer picture of exactly what we need to do. Also, Dapper Dino has a new inventory video, so it's like I've seen exactly what he's done so many times, and that's what I've been doing a lot of times. But it's cool, and it's nice to learn that and sort of think about that, like a focus. So as more of his videos come online, then we'll have more. It's like I was telling him, yeah, this is the exact same things I need to do, trading as well as also another huge things that I want to accomplish because I want to be able to. That's kind of basically what the transferring the cart to the inventory of the character. I guess I should include that as the backpack as packs as well. Um, are also part of that inventory that we actually do have online. You can and then you have character as well, like your pouch or something. Yeah, it's just gonna get way too massive pretty soon. But anyways, the pouch is kind of like just the character. Yeah, that's not gonna work. The pouch is like the C. The character copyright of the character. The character has a little pouch that's like they have 10 weight on them. When you start the game. Anyways, it's getting a little bit long, so we have the house and the beds. We added the particles system. You can see we haven't adjusted the energy is kind of the big thing. Like the loop back for the house and the bed is basically characters. We haven't added that system in. We're actually kind of not sure about that as well because we don't want to sit there and worry about. It's like the trees as well. I like the trees now. It's a huge improvement to. It's kind of like trying to find the balance between simple and fun gameplay versus complex gameplay, and the trees are kind of like you have to hit the tree 4 times and use 4 I used to have to use like 100 energy, and it got a little crazy there, and I like this sort of like the little quick roguelike games that have been out there, like what's that big one now that people have been playing. I haven't really. The graphics are a little bit too bright and shiny for me. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, so, but yeah, it's just a really fun, quick. It's like a isometric sort of character. Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, so, is it gonna bug me until I? It's a cool game. It's like, what's it called? Oh, no, that's not it. Well, Forager, yeah, that's what it's actually called. I saw this picture and I'm like, it's Forager, but that's Littlewood. Woodlow is actually really cool as well. It's a very Nucleum here is a very fun, cool little game that's like, wow, that's almost exactly what I want to do. And they have these various cool scenes, but yeah. So Forager is actually the game I was talking about, where it's like you have this little. It's kind of on a lot of people's minds. Here, let me. Well, I don't know. Anyways, I don't know if it's been a little while since I've seen people, but yeah, it's just like a little tiny game. You run around and you collect things, and it's like really, whack, 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 and you get some. It's really cool and cute, and it has a lot of fun animation. So, anyways, here, let me. Oh, I didn't talk about the quit button. You can actually. So we had a bug. We had the menu item where here you would have to quit. Go to the menu and then quit, but now you can actually. Is it actually? Yeah. See, so it actually. I guess. Let's see. What was the problem? Yeah. So the problem was the menu action. When you click on this button, it adds a. Yeah. Kind of annoying that it shuts down the menu, but I guess it's sort of. If you reject, maybe it shouldn't. Anyways, the menu tells it to go to this on-click event, which says, "Hey, you clicked on menu," and then the quit button was just trying to run a command like game.quit, and instead we just we fed it into the quit into this on click menu, which is really cool. I think the options as well and the resume might be different. Anyway, so long of the short is we figured out why. We thought it was some blocking thing. We tracked down every single there's hundreds of objects in this scene right here. It's like not just the UI elements. You have hundreds of it's like you have the overall slide menu, have all sorts of anything. So long of the short, we just found out that we didn't add the quick button correctly. It's partly of how we were changing things over from. Wish you could start from right here. Oh no! Hey, no, you. Anyway, so yeah, so that's it was nice to just to fix that. That's a major plus for us to fix that bug because it was kind of really a sore spot. Anyway, so that's pretty much for the micro. You can see we definitely kind of want to feel like we get back to this. and then also in kind of, hopefully we've improved the graphics a little bit. You can see where the house sort of sits better here in this image, but it's a little too tall. Anyway, so then we talked about the overall macro environment. It's kind of the world environment. We haven't spent a lot of times. One of the, we talked about the houses and the laws. We haven't sort of got that in motion yet. We also talked about NPCs. That was a big thing we were talking about a little bit on the discussion board. There's a lot more on the discussion board too. Maybe we won't be able to cover it all, but anyway, so then I'm kind of, get to the point, but the point being is that we've been working on graphics mostly for this end, and then one of the things we want to talk about the fort. You can see that in this view that there's these pillars or stakes around, like a fort, a wooden fort. We think that's a really great early town look, and this is why this has been our go-to element. We were thinking about picking up this package because there's maybe we'll get into that when we talk about the graphics. But anyway, so the idea is that we wanted to showcase this fort. This is kind of a better view of the fort right here. I'm not a big fan of the white, but maybe it's sort of how people like to showcase. I would have maybe chose a green or something. Anyway, so the fort is this idea of it has a lot of gameplay elements, and that's sort of like one of the things I talked a little bit about, but I haven't got sort of across in the last. This is the kind of second or third time I've done this video. Anyways, the point being is the fact that when you look at these elements, it's really cool to have a watchtower like this, and we've had hundreds of towers we've been looking at, but they haven't really been to any gameplay elements. And you can see sort of like these watchtowers, they don't have any game, they don't have any, like maybe there's an internal ladder or something, but there's no, it's like a external view. It's not to say that Zugzug art is bad, because we love it, but we need to have the gameplay elements here, and this is why this fort, even though it feels a little bit too modern, it also feels like there's enough gameplay here and a graphical upgrade to feel like really awesome. And you can see that in almost every single image here. Like, there are some forts that are just like this, but then they have no way to get to access this, and this is just amazing because these towers can sit, like here's a view from the tower, it's like they can sit on these corners and you can actually walk all the way around, and that's sort of like why we love this so much, because you have this entire walkway where you can, and these ramparts are really just these really awesome ramparts where it's like they have, the walls are a little bit too tall. We'll have to adjust the size of them. These feel like they would be perfect 2x2. I haven't tested this yet, but it's feeling like it would be worth it to. We've done a lot of testing graphic work like this, but I feel like it would be worth it. And for a lot of various really awesome gameplay elements as well. There's a lot of really cool things that we would like to do, and then maybe we could take pick on a graphics artist to adjust and start adding some more gameplay elements to this. But these already have the really awesome gameplay elements that we have the ability to sort of walk along the outside of the wall, and then have a this actually should be out. We were thinking of this should be the outside of the wall, where you'll have a couple archers looking down. And then too, we'll see about the internal gameplay. But then also too, I think this would be great as a 2 wide area, but also just a 1 works great. So we might have to shrink it down a little bit and see if we can get that to be 5 feet high. And also too, it's like you looked at the gate here. A lot of these gate systems that you see in these games are very, unlike my amazing black gate that just lifts up the entire block. Some of these gate systems are like, they look cool, but they have no functionality in them. And it's like maybe a graphics artist could go through and edit that, but we don't have those skills. But this is actually 2 separate doors, and so they could actually open out like this. And we could also think about this idea where they could also, I think we could also adjust them so they act as a drop it as well. But anyway, so this just has a lot of gameplay elements. That there's a really cool fort. The ladders, it's kind of why we've been talking about ladders a long time ago. We recognize the fact that the character, and our ladders haven't been improved yet, but it's definitely something we need to think about how to really make those ladders solid. It's basically an entire process of detecting the ladder, hitting F to climb onto the ladder, W to climb up to the ladder, and then when you get to off the ladder, then you have to hit F to get off the ladder, and it's just the unfortunate nature of games where it's like you can't teach people to, you know, there's no climbing interactive systems on that level. But anyway, so this is really cool. It doesn't quite fit the wood style, but we're hoping we can adjust that wood style. Yeah, and the other thing too, I think this is definitely, it's maybe 4, 5, 6 tall, tile wise. But yeah, so we might. It'd be nice if this was, well, I guess these are 3 feet anyways. Like this, if this was like a 1, 2, 3. It'd be 3, 6, 9 feet tall. That's kind of what we've been thinking about in terms of graphical height. That the character is like it's like the Minecraft style, 2.75 or whatever is our character height. So we have this 3 as the so that's kind of makes a little bit of sense. Like this is 9 feet tall. Anyway, so a part of this, I think one problem we could have with this is these planks. This is a free asset, by the way. It's the biggest cool thing about this is a free asset, but the fact that these walls, they may not be, what's a really good, like this one, they may not be individual stakes. So it, and like to build this might be, that's sort of, and I think this package right here. These may be individual. They're set pieces, like a little, like a prefix. I don't know what you call them, but they're a connected set piece. But they might have as well. But that's okay because we're not too that excited about. We haven't really talked about the build system, how it's going to work. We just I guess there are 2 different. Watchtowers. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. There's this one where you can pass through, and this one, which is the corner watchtower, which is really awesome because, and here's another, the other side of the gate view. So, this could be 2 tiles wide. We'll have to think. I think at 9 feet, this should be 2 tiles wide. We'll have to see how that fits. We haven't spent a lot of time with this, but this is definitely something we want to think about next. And it's a little bit more macro than we've been focused on, but we definitely feel like, if we can get this in, I think that's part of the problem. Is like if we get this in, how do we sort of keep it? I think that's sort of one way we can keep it is using a graphic sort of a single scene instead of trying to build in everything randomly. Anyway, so the other thing we want to talk about is Jane. Yeah, here we go. He is actually pretty cool. He has a YouTube talking about. We've started. No, actually, I want to go to this one. He has a YouTube talking about some of this where he developed this free low poly kit, and then it's like, oh, by the way, it's money. So, anyway, so he has a very distinct art style. I guess we'll go to the Pro kit. But yeah, so he has a pretty distinct style. It's almost like an entire RPG developed, but he has a very I guess this like before, but he has this very it's not very node based. It's not very tile based like so a lot of this is like we thought about taking some of this and trying to see if we can work with some of this and seeing how we can include some of these hills and stuff like that, but it's kind of such a different mesh style. This is kind of more like a third person action RPG or something like that, or a Zelda, or I'm not sure how to describe it, but it's not kind of the RPG we've been going for. But the cool thing about this, well, he has this entire hunger system, which is kind of what we've been thinking about, but it's sort of like he suffers from that problem. It's like a design flaw, but he has sheep and stuff, but it's like I think as justice. But anyways, he also has quests and dialogues and stuff like that. Lava, these towers are okay for a dungeon model, but anyways, the thing we wanted to talk about is this right here. So this house is actually pretty cool. Hopefully can adjust the textures on some of these as well. But he actually has included this entire design where the roof can go away, and then you can actually enter the house through the door. The door shuts and opens. He has a lot of character animations. He also has an axe as well. But yeah, and a lot of cool stuff. So hopefully we'll see more of this. But yeah, so some of this I may not use, some of it I will use. Um, Definitely some of these the mountains and stuff, and we'll have to see exactly. Like he has a pretty good scene here where it's like it's like you're sort of semi looking out. The cannonballs are pretty cool, and we wouldn't include cannons because it seems a little too high, late in the fantasy cycle. It's like post medieval period. But he does have this cool, where he walks up, picks up the cannonball, carries it around, sort of inventory weight items that we've been talking about, and then loads the cannonball and fires it. And then he has, I'm not sure what kind of inventory system he has, but it definitely has the hotkeys. We've included all this stuff before, so this is not anything new. It's just how he's doing it and and we actually cleaned up and this is kind of one of the test kits we've been playing with a lot. We cleaned up all the UI, upgraded it to 2019 with the free version. It's pretty cool. So we've been thinking about, do we take the next step and start implementing the inventory, how we do it, and a lot of stuff. So we'll have to think about that. Mostly the idea is that we like this graphics, and it sort of solves the graphics pack, but it's pretty expensive for our sort of like needs right now. But then the Zug Zug, which is amazing art, don't get me wrong. They actually, it's like let's see, yeah, we actually own this bed pack, and the bunny slippers come from it. And the tents are actually also things we're going to include as well. We think that's really awesome. That you would have a tent, and you could just set up a tent and stuff, and that would actually give you a way to sort of set up a tent outside. Yeah, so here's our medieval village right there, and then here's the building set. So, yeah, is that? Oh. And there's a lot of really cool, awesome packages in here, like really cool, like these walls and stuff like that, and even this one, there's a ton of stuff. Anyway, so this is the medieval scene we've been talking about. It's $30. The thing I wanted to talk about though is we love the fact that it's just this really town scene, and we should just really pick it up because I think just for a simple town AI character-based scene, it would be really cool. They have carts and barrels and stuff like that, and ladders and all sorts of cool objects as well. So, and we love the graphic style as well. The dark woods and the trees actually also are kind of single tile trees, and then the rocks as well. You get these single tile and lots of different options. Here's the pillar we were talking about, so it's really cool. So this might be in a really, they may not match up in style, but we also think this is a really good starter, like first tier. You have these 3-foot high walls and 1 foot wide, and then you upgrade to that fortress. So that's actually a really good point as well. The problem here, though, is you can see, like, I guess this is a pretty good textured view, but we're not sure that these roofs can fall. These roofs can go away. Like, we need these roofs to be like this roof goes away, and then you have access to this room, and then that goes away, and then you have access to this, and then that. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. Levels there that we need access to for gameplay value, and then you can and there's really cool elements on the side here, extra little storage and bins and stuff like that. So there's a lot of gameplay that we can add in, but it's sort of like, it feels like more of an RTS element, and there are really cool doors and doorways. And this actually kind of highlights over here. I'm not sure if we talked about this before, but anyways, it's been a huge topic. So here's this really cool, and this is one of we're seeing with our. This would be a huge improvement on our current iteration. Anyways, it's closed down, but it's like there's no internal structure to our current building. So when we walk into a building, it's like you get all these clipping issues that see on the outside, and it's like really bizarre. But these actually do have internal structures. But one thing we've noticed, and we've kind of emailed them and haven't got a response back, which is understandable, but there's no doorways. It's like there's really cool doorways here and really awesome stuff, but there's there could be internal structures to this, but I don't think that's something we can guarantee And I'm not sure if this is all procedurally, like we can, you can sort of see, like this is probably what the doorway is, and then they attach that to right here, and then that hides that split, and then creates a doorway there, and stuff like that. And then you can sort of see some of these things coming from. But then too, it's like I don't know if these roofs. I guess the roofs are separate, so that would be. I guess that would make some sense. So the roof could go away pretty easily, and then here's the thing. So it seems like it does have some internal structure here as well. So it'd be nice if we had this. Um, oh, what do you call it? A ability to walk through and interact with the towers as well. So, and then here's the roofs that go away. That's pretty cool. It's kind of like we've been playing with the Kenny's for procedural generation from Board to Bits, but it's like it's very similar, but it doesn't give us the gameplay elements that the other one did, where it's like you can actually open up the door and walk into it. Anyways, there's a lot of really cool art assets. A lot of definitely more. I think these are actually included, the wooden walls. And there's another sky dungeon. Oh, I guess that's someone different. Anyways, and then the floor segment is actually going to be really helpful for teleporting around. Some of this other stuff we may not use, but the difference here, let's see, this battle village. The difference here is though that some of this stuff, I think that some of the other walls are sort of this. Yeah, this is where some of these other walls fit into. Is it's a little too bright and high, like low. We would call it low fantasy. It's like the idea that it's very low. It's not just low poly, but it's low, like toony, extremely toony fantasy, and we kind of have that upper ground. We do love the buildings. The designs of these are just really cool. Maybe if we applied a proper shader to them, like just the potion buildings, and just they have a lot of really unique, very distinct buildings, which is great. Is what you need for some of these RTS elements. The environments are pretty cool as well. They're kind of nice, and does this some of the wood textures could be a little better. But anyway, so it's just some options, and here's and then also too, it's like this is kind of one of the things we really like, is where you got wood, stone, gold. It's like you have this huge progression system, which is one of the primary focuses I think for our game is going to be that progression system. And then I think that's sort of like from here too. It's like you go from, you have a little basic mini house that our shack, and then you can add in these extra side rooms, kind of like Stardew Valley, where it's like you could upgrade your town. So anyway, so that's kind of the graphics package. So we're talking about the idea of how to get more. Oh, how did I get that? That's weird. Yeah. No. Innocent? Oh. Anyway, so I'll have to learn. I'm trying to find the button that just lets me boot back into the exact screen. So, anyways, we talked about the micro, talked about some of the macro and the environment. So that also includes like military royalty. We should also include NPCs as well. Citizens, I think we're calling it. I had a really awesome, fun demo with that, and it's like I kind of want to get back to that because it's something that I'm really passionate about. Is taking this town scene. Adding, I was using NavMesh agents, but they were like having, they would, go to their house, they would go to work, and it's like I started adding like farmers and stuff, and I want to get back to that, as one of the core, but that's sort of like a post 1.0 update, or, I'm not sure how many NPCs and how many characters and graphics and all that I can get on the screen, so I guess I should, this part of this is like, if I include a scene like this, and use various sort of staging technology, I can really add some pretty impressive for my limited level. So we'll have to see how that goes. That's kind of the end goal. That's why the macro environment, it's definitely something we're improving upon with graphics and talking about things. So the next step is start implementing the fort, and I think at some point I'm not sure when. At some point I'm just going to pick up 2 or 3 packages and just say, go for it. Spend the $100, pick up the 3 packages I've been talking about, and then just implementing those. See what we have. A lot of it's like I'm kind of waiting for these to go on sale, but it's limited, I think, in that respects. But we picked up that low polygon world from Aquarius Max. It was really cool, but I think it's going to be very valuable, but it's like hard to different pieces of it are not quite the gameplay style we're trying to create with this sort of environment. We would have this, roguelike environment. And so hopefully we'll get that at some point. But anyway, so that's a pretty long video. What are we, an hour? Yeah, that's a good video. 40 minutes, 50 minutes. That's an excellent. Anyway, so I appreciate everybody support and comments, and we'll have to talk about Patreon. Maybe, I don't know. It's just if I start getting some people going, hey, where's your Patreon? I'll kick it off. But I don't know. I appreciate the people that do Patreon. I support Sharp Extent through Patreon, so he is really awesome, and it's cool, and it's nice, and I can see some people could use that support. That it's like I don't buy YouTube abs aren't that great, but it's like and that's sort of it. It's like I'm supporting the content creation, and this is like feels like I'm trying to make a game, and that's what you can support. And that supports Savin Studios, which is my company. So, anyways, thanks very much. You take care. I guess I will, look forward to your feedback, and can't wait to see what happens next. A lot of this kind of a lot of directions to go from in this video, but and then I think too, some of there's fixing quite a few more bugs and trying to clean this up, so it feels like 18 is stable, that we can push it to the live version. Where there's that's where there's rocks are rocks and logs are logs, and then that will feel like an 18 point is stable. Anyways, take care.